Riddle me this. How many Wii remotes does it take for you to follow your dreams? Apparently 6. Let's go make something weird. When I was growing up, one of the biggest video game consoles was the Nintendo Wii. If you're not familiar, it was one of the first mainstream consoles to be controlled by physical body movements rather than just joysticks and buttons. This was made possible by the Wii's remote, or Wiimote as they called it. And since I'm on a kick of making things giant, I kind of want to scale it up large enough to where it has to be held with 2 hands or something like that. But the real challenge will be keeping it fully functional. So let's go see what we can do. The plan is to retain 3 main features of the original remote: functional buttons, motion controls, and the point at the screen and do stuff thingy. So I started out by ripping apart a Wii remote I bought online. I have plenty of old ones already, but I wanted a fresh new one that I can sacrifice without ruining a personal one. I'd rather not break anything, but this is really not one to pop out. Come on, baby. Ooh, ooh, ah! Something snapped. We'll find out what that is later. Taking one apart is necessary because I need accurate measurements of the full housing and all of the button pieces, in addition to repurposing the original circuit board. The little buttons look easy enough to model, and the housing is doable. I'm a little worried about the ergonomic shape of the lower half, but it's not completely out of my wheelhouse. All right, I think I feel confident enough to go ahead and move forward with this, so let's go. I get the buttons modeled up first because I want to send them over to PCBWay to get them printed in resin, especially this clear A button, but more on that later. It took some time, but I finished up the full exterior housing. But of course, this is all still based on the original remote size. We still need to scale this bad boy up to its final form. Now, it might not look like much happened, but that's because we're still looking at the original one. This is the big one. And with that, we are officially not even halfway through. This was the easy part. Now I have to figure out how all these components actually move and attach to each other on the inside. You can't just be pretty on the outside and completely worthless on the inside, you know? I extend the walls around the buttons to keep them in place and add backing plates with holes for the real buttons. I'm using keyboard key switches for this because they're cheap and easy to use, but I eventually realized that just the weight of my buttons would probably be enough to press the keys down. This is where springs come in. I add some little holes for the springs to mount in that would help hold up each button. I have to get a little creative with the D-pad and the B trigger because their contact points and the switches are variable. I fixed both of these just by implementing some flex. The D-pad gets a big support spring in the middle, and the B trigger gets a long button presser that'll be printed in TPU. So anyways, I think that's just about everything modeled up. I started slicing files in Cura and hit go on the prints. While I wait on prints to finish, I'm gonna go ahead and place an order with this video sponsor, PCBWay. I was able to get most of the buttons printed in a regular white resin. Then I got the A button and the player lights printed in a transparent resin. Then, after about a week or so, a package arrived at my door. The buttons really came out great. They all have a nice solid weight to them, and I really just can't get over how the A button looks. It's like glass. I feel like I'm tainting it just by touching it. We'll check out how all these fit later, but seriously, go check out PCBWay. Although they do specialize in making custom circuit boards, their 3D printing services can be an incredible resource whether you're a pro or you just don't have your own 3D printer at home. I honestly highly recommend them. Now let's get back to the project. All right, all the parts are printed now. I'm getting everything assembled, and I noticed a couple problems. First, I noticed 2 of the top panel pieces suffered quite a bit of warping on one edge, causing this big step in the joining faces. A normal and sane person would reprint these parts, but my misplaced confidence just tells me I can fill this gap later. Don't be stupid like me, it's always worth the extra day of printing. Then I also realized that these 2 screw holes are completely unreachable when you put it together. But I'll deal with that later, that's a future Austin problem. So anyways, I went ahead and started joining the parts. My latest process for this consists of slathering the joining faces with PLA Gloop, which is a relatively new product that chemically bonds the plastic together much better than super glue or other methods. Not a sponsor, just a great product. Then I use an old soldering iron to weld edges that won't be seen from the outside, just to give it an extra level of strength. Once each piece is fully bonded, I go ahead and add the threaded inserts for the screws. With that done, I just have to get a little sneak peek of how everything will assemble. I should also mention that if you're interested in printing this for yourself, I offer my files to my higher tier Patreon supporters so you can get access to all of my projects for just $15, which is a pretty good deal now that I've got so many projects over there. So anyways, after a brief moment of hilarity, it's time to
mind the gap
Because this is such a large area to fill, I usually opt to fill the majority up with a harder material like this plastic wood stuff. I think mine has dried out a little bit because it doesn't spread as well as it used to, but it'll still get the job done. And now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, sanding. The sanding and painting process can take a lot of time, but if you try to take shortcuts, it could take even longer. I've learned this the hard way through many of my projects. Just do it the right way the first time. After some initial sanding to flatten the plastic wood and roughen up the surface, I get out my crack filling material of choice, acrylic medium. What? Are you expecting me to say Bondo? No, I broke up with Bondo a month ago. Bondo's a thing of the past. Acrylic medium is where it's at. Not only is it a million times less toxic, but it's also got a tiny bit of flex to it, making it less brittle and flaky. So yeah, I'm not a Bondo boy anymore. I'm an acrylic medium man. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Since I'm working with a mostly flat surface, I tried to make a custom tool to help spread the medium evenly, but it was kind of a flop. Turns out just a regular card scraper still does the job better. But you know what does work really well? These little hole poker outer things I made. Works exactly as intended. I let all of that dry for a bit, but there's still more work to do. The medium settled a little bit where it was applied in such a thick layer, so I have to keep working at it. This time I pulled out my giant squeegee rather than a card scraper, and it really got the job done. After some more sanding, I apply filler primer, then sand more, then spray more filler primer, then sand again, working up higher grits as I go. Once I'm happy with a very smooth surface, it's time for real paint. Don't try to use thick coats of paint to fill cracks and scratches. Cracks should be fully taken care of before this step. Trust me, I'm a recovering idiot. I apply thin coats to all the pieces, and it's really starting to look like the real deal now. Then, after a couple more coats, oh, hold on a second. Let me just, shoot. Crap, dang it. Okay, it's fine, yeah. So now that everything is perfect and fine, I applied one last coat to the top piece. Unlike the bottom, the top is actually glossy, so I gave it a gloss coat for accuracy. I also gave the same treatment to some of the buttons because some are glossy, some are not. After everything is dry, I'll go ahead and finish up the external details. I cut up all the printed letters and icons out of vinyl and carefully apply them to each piece, making sure everything is straight. I also finish up the nunchuck connector at the back and get it glued and screwed into place. So now, for whatever reason, I decided to save all of the wiring and electronics for the very end, because rushed wiring has never ended badly for anyone. I have plans this evening to meet up with some friends and show off the finished Wii Remote, so I'm at a bit of a time crunch to get this finished. It's really as simple as soldering wires to a board, then over to the key switches. What could go wrong? Well, apparently the infrared camera could go very wrong. My mistake was using one of the newer Wii Remotes with the Wii Motion Plus built in. What I didn't realize is that the infrared cameras in this version are much different than the previous version. The original remote's camera is very well documented online and is easy to use because of all these separate pins to solder to. The new one replaces those pins with a second circuit board that is then soldered onto the main board. It was so delicate and time consuming to work with that I just gave up. So I get to work with the only option I'm left with. Completely redoing everything. The one thing I hate more than sanding, having to redo previous work. On the bright side, I now have good practice doing this and am able to tackle it a little bit more confidently. The only hard part was these teeny tiny contact points that I had to solder to for the lights and some of the buttons. But once everything is attached to the board, I carefully mount it inside the remote and solder the other end of the wires to the buttons. I'm also very careful with mounting the new infrared camera that I just put all of this extra work in for. I screw the top half to the bottom half, and I'm quickly reminded about the two front screws that I couldn't reach. Although it's not the best solution, I just fix this with a bit of super glue. Why would I ever need to open this back up? After snapping the back panel in, it's time for the big reveal. I'm very happy to see that not only are the buttons working, but all of the lights light up as they should. But my excitement is a little short-lived. I power on the Wii and I can't see the little hand on the screen. This means that the infrared camera just isn't working, and this genius just super glued the remote shut. The screen pointing functionality is one of the more important details to me, so I'm very disappointed to see that this isn't working. But then, I see a flicker. Maybe it's just a loose connection. I smack the remote a couple times and boom! Finger on the screen, fixed, tech genius over here. Forget turning it off and back on again. Have you tried just giving it a good old slap? So with things working, I add an appropriately sized safety strap because I'm not one of those heathens that played the Wii without a strap on. I'm looking at you, Jacob. So with high spirits, I'm ready to test the remote with my friends. I forced myself not to pull up any games beforehand so my reactions could be raw and in person with everyone. They have no idea what we're doing, so I pass out their remotes, then pull out mine. We opt to start with some Wii Sports since everyone knows the game. We choose our characters and start a game of tennis when I notice something's wrong. My character's not moving at all, almost as if the motions aren't being picked up by the remote. I'm completely caught off guard by this because I never even touched the accelerometer, which is the little component on the board that detects movement. But after some difficult troubleshooting, I found that the accelerometer is just missing. Yes, you heard me right. At some point, this little chip just packed its bags and left the circuit board. I honestly never touched it, so I have no idea how this happened. But it means that most games are completely unplayable. We were able to play some Super Mario, but that was about it. But I'm not a quitter. Don't let your dreams be dreams. I bring the remote back into my office and see what I can do. I try soldering a new accelerometer back onto the board, but the previous one just took some of the contacts with it when it left to get milk or wherever it decided to go. So you know what that means. We get to do everything a third time. Yay! I get straight to work and honestly do a better job than the previous two versions. All of my connections are much stronger, and I used hot glue to keep all of my tiny connections from ripping off. But guess what? Somehow, in the process of mounting the board inside the remote, I fry the entire board. None of the buttons or lights work, it's just gone. At this point, I'm ready to chuck this whole thing out the window, but I can't let all of this be for nothing. Time for round 4. This time, I set myself up for success and overcomplicate everything. Rather than soldering my stiff wire directly to the board, I got these connectors with more flexible wire to dampen some of the strain the stiffer wire had on the connections. Yeah, it turns my wiring into spaghetti, but it's much safer, and now I can unplug the board from the remote if needed. I reassemble the remote and go straight to testing. Right off the bat, buttons and sensor work, which is already better than last time, but I need to confirm that the motion detection is working before I can celebrate. At first, I think it's another fail. But then I see my club wiggle. I guess just because the remote is so big, all of my movements have to be exaggerated to be picked up, but all that matters is that it works. I bring my friends back over to play and we have a blast. We kick it off with some regular Wii Sports, which is extra difficult because of the weird grips you have to make on the remote and just having to really exaggerate all of your movements for them to register properly. Games like bowling and golf are probably the easiest, so we spend most of our time there.
Please. Come on, come on, come on. Get there, get there. Yeah!
We eventually switch over to Wii Sports Resort, so I have to plug in a Motion Plus attachment. We try out the Air Sports first, and honestly, this is the best game we've played with it by far. With the remote being as big as it is, it feels almost like you're actually holding the plane in your arms. We do a couple games of sword play, but the ability to quickly move a smaller remote gives the opponent a huge advantage. So we swap over to archery to try out using a nunchuck. And to my surprise, I'm actually great at this. I don't remember if I was very good at this before, so I don't really have anything to compare to. It maybe helps me keep a steadier hand, but that's probably it. We close out the night with a couple rounds of Mario Kart, which is really fun. The remote forces you to use your entire body to drive the cart. Hands for the gas and items, then knees to steer. This race in particular really captures the essence of Mario Kart, because I spend most of the race in last place, but somehow pass everyone in the last lap. All in all, I'd call this project a success. Yeah, there were some headaches along the way, but the end result is probably my favorite project I've worked on. Sorry, Coco. Earlier this summer, I mentioned that we hit 10,000 subscribers and I wanted to celebrate with some sort of giveaway. Well, the incredible people over at AnchorMake are supplying one of their M5 3D printers for me to give away to one of you. It's the same as this printer that I've been using for a couple months now, and it's an incredible machine for anyone that wants to get into 3D printing. I'll make sure you get plenty of filament with it, and I'll offer up any of my project files that you'd be interested in printing, along with some basic instructions on how to print them. If you're interested in entering, comment down below something like, if I had an M5, I would print, and then fill in the blank. I'll be choosing a comment by random, so it's not a competition or anything. I just wanted to see what you guys would make. The winner will be chosen 1 week from today, so you've got until then to enter. So I guess that's it then. Bye. 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 Oh, I'm bumping stuff. Oh, here, I'll just... You should click one of these videos. This video is when I helped build the Furby robot, and
This is just whatever YouTube thinks you should watch.